Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to CJ and Tyler's Level Up Adventure presented by Dirt Sheet Radio. I am, of course, Tyler, the pro wrestling hipster, joined by
CJ Carter. I'm the CJ part of the CJ and Tyler equation. Looking forward to talking to NXT.
That's right. Otherwise, this whole thing doesn't work. Then it will just be and Tyler's Level Up Adventure, and that doesn't flow. That doesn't work.
Not even taking out the and. It's literally just and Tyler. And I wanna preface this too by saying this show was Tyler's idea. Like, Tyler came to me being like, "Hey man, I want to do another show." And so the fact that he put my name first in the title is like, it's a nice gesture.
I do what I can, man. I wouldn't be completely lying if I didn't say just it sounds better. First of all, that way, like the flow of CJ and Tyler, it just sounds like it's got more pop
as opposed to Tyler and CJ.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's the alphabetical thing. Like I'm not really sure, but I don't know. It sounded better. Also, too, maybe somewhere deep rooted in my psyche, I was like, if I put his name first, he'll be much more apt to say yes to the idea. Somewhere in there.
Oh, I would have said yes, even if you would have called it Tyler and CJ Talk Level Up, because we just enjoy talking about wrestling. And if you want to tune in, tune in. If you don't, then fuck you. Like, that's the whole title of the show.
I really thought you were about to say you would have done the show even if it was named similar to how Brock Lesnar wanted Raw named during that time frame. This would be Tyler Parsons, the pro wrestling hipster, presents Dirt Sheet Radio's Tyler's NXT Level Up Adventure with CJ. It was
starring Tyler and also CJ.
Oh no! It's too much. It's too much. It's too wordy. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked for us if we did that. But folks,
we would just need to initialize it, so it's just a slew of letters instead of a proper title. So welcome to or whatever.
It was just like jamming the keyboard every time. Little keyboard cat would pop up and just hit all the keys. And
Molly walking across the keyboard.
Exactly. But folks, it is the Level Up Adventure. We have here of course, to talk about NXT Level Up and NXT in general here as we'll hit some topics. But before we get into it and get into the meat of this week's episode, I, of course, have to give a shout out to our partner on the web out there, comicbookclick.com. That's comicbookclick.com/Dirt Sheet Radio for all of your comic book, pop culture, professional wrestling, all of your needs in one place. Make it your home page. Check it out multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated to do so, but because we love doing it. And while you're there, be sure to look at our sponsor, NordVPN, where if you sign up through the website, you'll get that first month of NordVPN for 72% off. Do it right now if you're good at multitasking. Otherwise, wait till after the show.
Which, honestly, I'm not the best at multitasking either. You'll find that out when I'm trying to go through my notes and speak at the same time.
Yeah, it happens. It's the joy of live radio, CJ. This is why people tune in. They love that live repertoire and banter, as it would be.
They don't tune in just to check out your luxurious flowing hair and amazing beard on a weekly basis. Damn near daily though. Slow down, man. Holy cow.
Nah, I'm not here nearly as much as you, and certainly not nearly as much as John. Of course, Johnny Dirt Sheet out there, every day, involved in virtually every show, except for this one. Really, I think this is one of the only ones that's not testing in the backstage for doing all the directions.
CJ and Tyler's Level Up Adventure. No Johns allowed.
No Johns allowed. John is always welcome. Always welcome.
Oh, absolutely. Mostly because he has the same admin login, so he can just log in and put himself in whatever show he wants.
Yeah, we're all here, guys. This is it. Like, everybody can just pop in. It's a Hendry-like existence where if names are said, people can appear at any time.
Oh man, how great would it be for Joe Hendry to show up on Level Up one of these days?
You know what? Really, they just should. Don't even say it ahead of time. Although it is recorded, so people wouldn't know. But still, it'd be a lot of fun. Just everywhere, showing up all over the place. But guys, it is Level Up, and we are here to talk about this week's Level Up. 3 featured matches, as is typical. And guys, the first match we're going to be talking about tonight, the opening bout, we had Dante Chen taking on the returning Keanu Carver. Dante Chen, of course, the gatekeeper of NXT Level Up. And as expected here, Dante Chen does pick up the victory in just about 4 minutes and 43 seconds. I'm going to be honest, CJ, I had kind of forgotten about Keanu Carver. He did appear in the breakout tournament for the men this year. And as I learned through commentary, thank you, Blake Howard and Byron Saxton, he was injured, it sounds like, shortly after the breakout tournament, or maybe in the course of that. Making his return here, looking in the ring, but Dante Chen gets the win here. CJ, what do you think of tonight's opening match? Of course, how the gatekeeper Dante Chen looked. I'm going to be hammering home that gatekeeper thing because they are too. And how Keanu Carver looked coming back as well.
Well, the gate was certainly kept today. Dante Chen picking up the win against Keanu Carver. I thought it was a really good match. This was the first I'd seen Keanu Carver, especially since the breakout tournament. Did he get eliminated in the first round?
I honestly don't remember. I'm going to say yes, because I think, I don't know if he did, because they made it sound like, I think they mentioned he wrestled Riley Osborne in the breakout tournament. And I'm trying to remember, gosh, it feels like so long ago, the men's breakout tournament from this year. So I'm not sure if he went down with injury shortly thereafter, if he had won any of his matches in that. I remember him very, very vaguely.
His last match was January 30th on Level Up against Javier Bernal. His last... Oh, he wasn't in the breakout tournament.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, like, he didn't sound familiar. Oh, wait, no. First round, he got beat by Riley Osborne. My bad.
Okay, so
I didn't
went out by Riley
far enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
3 minutes 28 seconds, and then he had 2 matches at live events against Malik Blade, 1 against Dijak, and then he did 3 matches on Level Up. Start 2 in January, and then the one we're talking about today.
Okay, so yeah, it sounds like he was on the injured reserve shelf there for a little bit of time, but back in the ring, yeah, he looked pretty good here. I will say, gotta get different gear on this guy. Like, I don't know why, like, obviously you do sit here in an old Roddy Piper t-shirt, why I'm like such like the fashion advisor for Dirt Sheet Radio, but it looked like, I don't know, leopard print boxer briefs. Like it wasn't good gear for him. So maybe work on that. But but otherwise he looked fine in the ring. Like I said,
had a great showing.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of basis of comparison here. Like I said, I barely remember that Riley Osborne match during the breakout tournament. Yeah, it looked good here. And like you said, the gate was kept as it would be. And Dante Chen does get the win here. Dante Chen just racking up win after win on Level Up. He really kind of is becoming kind of the gatekeeper, almost like the top guy at Level Up, which I would assume means here within the next few months he'd be
Level Up Speed Champion.
Yeah, don't even say it. Don't even put that out.
Okay, I won't put that out there. But
didn't they just announce a women's speed championship too this week?
They did.
Yeah,
they did. So speed tag champs are coming, and it's
trios.
Yeah, something like just so much not allowed on television that it's gonna do so well.
Yeah,
but anyways, Dante Chen in particular is. I'm looking forward to talking about him when we get into our the second half of our show. So I'll drop that tease and leave it at that. Elliot, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Love seeing it.
Yeah. Hey, Jared, yeah,
Jared?
hey, that's
All
what we
done.
do. We cover everything. Dirt Sheet Radio covers everything across the board, pretty much. You're going to hear all forms and types of wrestling through here, but yeah, great match. Yeah, we will be talking about Dante probably a little bit later in our deep dive we're talking about here tonight. But next up, backstage we had Sarah Schreiber interviewing Lainey Reid ahead of Lainey's match with the nightmarish Wendy Choo here taking place shortly thereafter. This is something you hear me say a lot on this show and other shows regarding interviews and promos, but I thought Lainey Reid sounded natural here. I thought she came across as fairly genuine. This didn't seem like it was her pretending to be something she wasn't. It didn't sound super rehearsed. The little bit of twang on the accent. I don't know a lot about her, so I'm not sure if that's how manufactured that accent is or not. I know as a native West Virginian, I slip in and out of that sometimes. So, maybe it is real for her. But she sounded pretty good here. And, not a whole lot else for me to say about this. CJ, what'd you think of her interview segment?
Yeah, I had largely similar thoughts. I thought she definitely sounded natural and made it, like you said, made it believable that she was actually, she actually believed what she was saying and didn't sound too scripted or rehearsed. I was just looking through to try and see if I could find where she's from, and
because they don't announce hometowns anymore.
Gadsden, Alabama, apparently.
Oh, well, holy heck. That girl is forged in the deep south of the United States. So there we are.
The accent is probably scaled back some.
Yeah, she might be pushing that one down a little bit then. Damn, okay, all right. So yeah. Well, that's probably why this character sounds very natural then. But that is going to take us into our next match on the card here. That is Lainey Reid taking on Wendy Choo. Lainey Reid, her theme music sounds a little similar to Fallon Henley's, but I guess there's only so much Southern twang music that Def Rebel's going to push out. So, little drop the heel step. I will say that on her entrance, she has a little heel click when she's coming out. It reminds me too much of Hornswoggle, and no one wants to be compared to Hornswoggle.
I think Becky Lynch did that early days in NXT too.
You're right. When she was still doing the I'm an Irish step dancer, Becky Lynch kind of gimmick, which, God help us, thank goodness Vince didn't force that on her long term.
Talking about things that feel genuine, that is not one of them. I do not believe for a second. I do not believe for a second that Becky Lynch is Irish. No, I'm just kidding. Lainey Reid, this match against Wendy Choo, I thought she did very well. The early on in the match, I thought she felt a little uncomfortable. I don't know if that's the right word, but
there was a little clunkiness there, a little maybe stutter in the step, as it would be.
Yeah, maybe for only about a third of the match, and then she did end up getting more comfortable as the match went on, and I noticed the moves became a lot more fluid, and I think her connection with Wendy Choo in the ring was improved upon as well in this match. And of course, Wendy is Wendy. We knew we kind of knew what we were getting into with Wendy Choo. How do we feel about this dark character this much or this far into her return? Because she's been back for a couple months now.
Yeah. I like it. I enjoy the character. I like spooky shit. Okay, dogs are on the move. I enjoy spooky things, and so I was immediately excited when they brought her back in this way. Guys, calm down though. I dig it. They've had her winning since she's been back. This is her 8th straight win since her return between NXT proper and Lvl Up. So, they've definitely had her on a tear with this character, which is good, kind of quietly establishing dominance. I don't know if I've said this before, but I feel like when people win, they often put a lot of focus on that when they've won just, on a streak, if you will. And I think in wrestling, too much focus gets put on that when it happens. So I appreciate that they're having her win, but they're not really saying it out loud. It's just pay attention. She is winning. She's not lost since she's been back as this darker form of herself. But so she's on a streak. She's looking good. Like you said, though, the beginning of the match felt a little off. And I don't know, is this likely the first time they've worked together? Their styles aren't that dissimilar, though, in the ring. No. One moment. Molly Holly. It's okay. All right. She's calm now. So, but no, in the ring, they did seem to have, I don't know, a little bit of struggle finding equal footing, maybe. But, like you said, a couple minutes into it, they were definitely rolling and definitely on the same page, and it looked good there. Wendy has a great aggression now. And I don't think that was really present when the sleepy character was just a sleepy character. Now, with this nightmarish quality, they're adding something a little extra, a little more, punch to her character. I actually wrote in my notes here, there was a little stream she had in this match where the only words I had to describe it were aggressive chain wrestling, which I don't think I've put those words together ever before that. But she looks great doing it. I dig it. I'm excited on NXT proper to see what they're doing with her and Tatum Paxley. I still don't know if they're friends or not. She got choked out by her this past week after giving her a doll. So I don't really know what's going on between the two of them, but I'm absolutely here for it. Fill my cup up with that spooky shit. I'm here for it, guys. That's...
Oh, yeah. So as far as character development, it feels like we saw more them putting work into her character when she was, bright and chipper Wendy Choo. But now that she's taken on this darker persona, yes, that is translated to a change in her in-ring style, but I don't know that we've had the same sort of character development that Wendy Choo got before. Now, I could be wrong and not looking at the development that they've given her properly, but what are your thoughts?
It's been a lot more quiet, I feel. And again, kind of like similar to the win streak she's been on. It's been a lot more background development. Shots through NXT Anonymous, the interplay with the dolls, like her and Tatum both, for that matter, kind of creeping in the background of one another's shots and matches. So I think they've done it more through that in an attempt to establish what she is, as opposed to doing it more outright with vignettes. Because even leading up to her coming back, the vignettes were short. They gave very little glimpses into what was going on. And it wasn't until that alarm clock went off and we saw the shatter of the screen that we thought anything was even different with her character.
Well, I think it was was it the shatter or was it the because I'm trying to remember the order in those promos. I didn't remember thinking anything was wrong until we saw her looking in the mirror.
You know what, that might have been it, because I'm trying to remember, because I know it was like
I can't hear you, Tyler.
Oh, you can't.
Oh, wait. Sorry. No, it was just really significant lag.
Oh, are we good?
No, it's still a little bit behind, but hang on. Okay, just keep talking. I'm gonna sort my stuff out.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact order of her little return vignette. So the solid black screen, and then the snoring with that, then the alarm, and they kind of. But I think you're right. I think they didn't reveal that until she looked into that mirror. I think that was the first actual proper reveal. And again, that makeup job is fantastic. It's spooky, it's dark, but still bright. Still marketable. I'm not going to really necessarily say cartoony, but it is still very, very marketable and very bright. It's a little frightening, but not so frightening that children are going to run out of the room when they see her.
Gave me very much Jack Skellington mixed with I can't remember his girlfriend's name in that movie.
Sally.
I knew it was either Sandy or Sally, but yeah. It's definitely a good shift. It's just a matter of, I guess I just don't know if there's a ceiling with it. Because I mean, it feels like the first gimmick was it was working, and then this second gimmick feels working. But again, this kind of brings us back to: is this a main roster character or is this NXT only?
I could see it working on the main roster, but working in the way that they use both sides of it. I would almost kind of like to see her start to lean into a Faces of Foley-esque thing with this, where she can go dark or bright depending on what side of the bed she wakes up on. Maybe even like a kind of a softer version of Finn Balor and the Demon.
I'm glad that's the version that you went with it, because my brain went Dustin Rhodes Black Reign.
Yeah, no, let's take it the direction I went. Oh man.
This was a really good match. I would even hasten to say this was my my match of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment there. It was great bell to bell. By the way, it went about 5 minutes 4 seconds, give or take, there for Wendy to get the submission victory. And props to Lainey Reid, doing one of my favorite spots in professional wrestling. I always pop, no matter who does it. But the Ric Flair turnbuckle bump, going up and over the turnbuckle. Love it. Love it when Rick does it. Love it when Sean did it. Lainey Reid did it well here. Fantastic. One of my favorite little homage spots, but she pulled it off really well too. So I wanted to make sure I had that in my notes. So I had to get that out there. That Ric Flair turnbuckle looked great. But yeah, great match. I look forward, obviously, to Wendy Choo in the future, but look forward to seeing Lainey Reid develop. I'm still not completely sold on that name.
Really?
Yeah, there's just something about it that still sounds kind of porny.
Hokey? Oh, yeah, okay. That's also a problem. Is it just like Reid?
I think it might be. I don't know. It might be Lainey too. I you know what though? I think it's more Reid than anything else. I think it's Reid. I think it is. Yeah. And that's
not, like, it's not her fault. It's just people that came before.
Right.
No pun intended.
Yeah, you beat me to it. Damn. All right. So, but moving on from there, backstage, we went back to Sarah Schreiber, this time speaking with Kale Dixon. Had not seen Kale Dixon on television for a while. I want to say his last appearance was losing to Braun Breaker on TV, because I remember technically his Level Up appearance later that week, which was filmed beforehand. Oh, okay.
But no, it was they referenced it in the match too, and we'll talk more about that in the match itself. But for this promo, I thought he sounded very much like Lainey Reid, like very natural, not as scripted or rehearsed. Like you could still tell it was scripted, but at least it was delivered naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. He came across as genuine here. And I will say, and we'll get into it here as we get into the match after the promo, I thought his charisma, though, came across much better walking to the ring than it did in this 45-second promo spot.
That's fair.
Which is kind of wild to me. Like, because I had in my notes here that while I thought the promo was fine, it wasn't particularly attention-grabbing to me. And I felt that his entrance was much, much more attention-grabbing. And hey, that's going to take us into our Level Up main event. This evening, we had Edris Enofe with his tag partner Malik Blade taking on Kale Dixon in a one-on-one match. The curse is completely broken, I feel, for Blade and Enofe here, as Edris Enofe picks up the win in 7 minutes and 22 seconds with a beautiful elbow drop here tonight. But yeah, great match. Everybody looked good. And like I said, Kale looked so much more charismatic coming to the ring than he sounded in that promo.
Well, I think part of it probably was just being out in front of the crowd. You know, you got to put on a show. And if you're standing in the back doing a promo segment, then, you know, you can be rigid. You can be, depending on even if they film these promos before the fans come in, they might not even have any residual sort of crowd reaction to build off of. But yeah, definitely a lot more charismatic on his way down to the ring than the promo for sure. Did it feel like losing so handily to Braun Breaker kind of killed any potential of a heel run right now? Because, I mean, they mentioned this on commentary a few times where they were like, oh, yeah, he got absolutely destroyed by Braun Breaker. And it almost felt like they were trying to build some sympathy for him. But then I'm like, wait, he's the heel in this
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no way. Heel. Yeah, like you can't tell me that Enofe is going to be getting any sort of heat from working with Dixon.
Yeah, I don't know that they were necessarily trying to get sympathy for Kale Dixon as much as maybe trying to explain why he hasn't been on television. Like, he got so pummeled by Braun Breaker that he's been off TV and kind of mending before coming back. So maybe that was kind of more of the angle they were coming at with it, but I'm not 100% on that. But you look great here. Okay. You look good.
Oh, yeah. I just don't know if his character is oriented right. You know, like, I think they would have to do, like, it feels like he's too upbeat to be a heel. Like, his tights are too bright a color with, too kind of flashy design. Like, it worked when Ziggler did it, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's working for Kale Dixon.
He gives me a little bit of the Brian Kendrick kind of vibe, character-wise. And the flashiness of the tights and stuff does not work with that. Like there's a swarminess there, and there's a charisma, but it can definitely be douched out. Because that's kind of what I mean. Like I don't know what specifically makes me feel that way. That I get that kind of like, again, the swarmy aspect of that Brian Kendrick character. Yeah, a change of gear could definitely do him some good. It is a little flashy for what he's trying to do, and it worked with Ziggler too, in part because Ziggler's in-ring style was a lot flashier.
True.
It's not showing off if you back it up. That whole shtick to it.
Yeah. Dixon's not a very high flyer. He's very, very grounded. So I think that might be another thing why it feels like working as a heel would be better, because he doesn't have to, flash and pizzazz the crowd. He can just, lay into a guy and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he is good. He's got a great foundation in the ring. There were a couple moments in the match where I thought, this wasn't going to be Edris's night to continue the breaking of the curse that they've seemingly had placed upon them by God knows who. But that was I think hit him with a flatliner at one point, and I thought that could have potentially have been the 3, and it wasn't. He kicked out, but looked great, believable near fall. But again, as we often say with NXT Level Up, I going into the match assumed that Edris Enofe was going to pick up the victory here tonight.
Mm-hmm. No, that's totally fair. Like, I went 3 for 3 as far as my predictions go, but it was literally just picking the NXT proper people over the Level Up people. So,
right.
I mean, I hope one of these days we're going to see just this massive surprise victory and make a star out of someone on Level Up.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. And it's going to happen. And you know what? When it does happen, it's going to be great. And I mean, that's kind of part of the way they structure the show there, where, it is going to be those little surprises that pop up from time to time, where 95% of the time it's developmental. These are, the folks that are closer to going to NXT proper, if they're not already on NXT proper from time to time. And it's about getting the reps in for folks like, Lainey, Reid, or Keanu, Carver, or a returning Kale Dixon, as it would be. So, I mean, I do look forward to seeing those breakouts happen, and they have to. They have to. I mean, obviously, Edris Enofe and Malik Blade, they've been losing relatively consistently, even on Level Up until recently. So those breakouts have to happen. We're going to see people start to turn it around. I know it'll happen.
Oh yeah, because I mean that's just the superstar generation machine that is the WWE developmental system.
Now the real question is, can Blade or Enofe get past the gatekeeper that is Dante Chen?
Would it be Chen having to find a tag team partner and try and gatekeep them both at the same time, or should it be, because I mean, like, they are still a tag team, like they're coming out for each other's singles matches. Wait, was it Blade or Enofe that was competing last week?
Last week was Blade.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they are still like having singles matches on Level Up, just not anything tag team. We have had tag team matches on Level Up at some point, haven't we?
Yeah, the last one that I remember, I want to say it was Hank and Tank.
Okay.
I think they beat Uriah Connors and Dion
Lennox,
thank you. Sanders was coming out of my head right there.
Same. I was like, wait, Deion Sanders? No, that's not it. Hang on. Oh, yeah, Lennox. That's it.
Yeah, like so we do. I feel like it's very, very singles structured for the most part, but you get some more tag team action on there. They should do it. Now watch next week. There will be like all tag matches.
Well, and I wonder if it's partly because of just because they have a half an hour. If they want singles competitors to have a chance to shine in a 5-minute match, it's a lot easier to do that than getting a full team's worth of people over in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But yeah, great showing from both guys, and so we'll see what goes forward. So hopefully this, for Enofe and Blade, this can boost their confidence, and maybe they can start to get some tag team victories here and move up that tag team ranking. Again, no Brindley Reese with them.
Nope. Sounds like they are actually going with the Brindley Reese's bad luck angle, which, I mean, we haven't seen her on NXT proper in a while either. So I wonder if, like, when it gets to this part of somebody's career, it's hard to know if they're like getting ready to move on to the next part of the story, or if they're getting ready to cut her,
or just try again, just start from scratch again.
Like just repurpose her character.
Yeah, just like take her off TV for a little bit and bring her back with even potentially a new name, new character, everything. Yeah, and it feels like, I didn't even think about that, man, but like, excuse me, now that you...
Did they even mention her on commentary?
No.
Like, they mentioned the bad luck streak, but they didn't mention Brindley Reese at all.
Not that I recall. Shoot, man. CJ, now that you say that, I am a little concerned. This does kind of feel like she might be at that crossroads right now as to... But the thing is, she's had great showings. Her character work, I feel, was good. For me, her being grouped with them gave them a little bit more of a little pop and panache and like someone to kind of play off of with that, as goofy as she is, cartwheeling in and out of the room. So like, I felt like she was doing a good job, but I'm also not management. I'm looking at different things and seeing different things, obviously, but that is interesting that she's kind of been off. Maybe it is. Maybe she's right there. I don't know. I'm worried now because I have enjoyed what she's done.
I mean, it's not a one-to-one comparison for me, but I mean, I look at it from the same sort of lens as when LA Knight was Max Dupree. Like, it might have been a good character for someone other than who they gave it to.
Right.
Like, if they would have given the flashy, upbeat sort of overly positive character to someone other than Brindley Reese, it might have worked better for them. but I think because I don't know a better way to phrase it other than since her debut, she just rubbed me the wrong way. And it wasn't because of her. It was more so just the character. So if it was a delivery thing and it might have worked better with somebody else, maybe. So if they do repackage her, maybe that's the thing and she'll just land on her feet better.
Do you think that, part of her character rubbing you the wrong way is that there's kind of a lot of this at NXT? I mean, a lot of the very bright, positive, maybe even overly optimistic kind of character. I feel like a lot of, maybe even it seems to affect more of the women characters than men, I feel. But a lot of them come in with that super sunny disposition and then change somewhere along the way.
True. I think that they did try and lean into that more with NXT 2.0, where it was bright, flashy colors and neon and all this stuff. And it's yeah, of course we're upbeat. We don't have the black, super black, dark arena that we had before.
Right.
So I think there's certainly an aspect of that, but I don't think it's anything that would have specifically held her back.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with Brindley Reese going forward, if she's going to break the bad luck herself or if the bad luck's
wind up on Collision.
Who knows? I actually do enjoy, speaking of Collision real quick, I every so often I'm seeing little clips and shots of some of the women that are at NXT now that had, matches on, AEW Dark or elsewhere. I think Fallon Henley, I saw a little shot of her. Not the best demonstration of her current abilities in them. It was much earlier in her career.
It was also she also had a weird ring name too then, didn't she?
Yeah, I can't remember offhand what it was, but Fallon Henley works for her.
And Thea Hale.
Yeah. Thea had a dark appearance as well. So.
That was actually who I thought you were talking about, because I remember seeing something floating around about how Thunder Rosa was actually who got her in contact with WWE scouts.
Yeah, I saw it as well. Yeah, and she's doing very well there. But
she is.
But hey, CJ, anything else on this week's Level Up before we hop into our star pupils and remedial students?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. It was a good half hour of wrestling, same as every week.
All right. Well, that is going to transition us into the NXT Level Up Remedial Student of the Week. CJ, who do you have this week as your remedial student?
I think I'm going to go with Kale Dixon. And it's because I still don't think his heel character is working for him at this point. I think he would find better success if he changed alignment to being a face character. Even if it was he doesn't have to change his in-ring style, he doesn't have to change his look, his gear. He can just wrestle as he is, but I think at this time he would just work better as a face. Even in his promo before the match, it didn't feel particularly heelish. So I think he's in kind of a weird place right now because he's not a dominant heel. He's coming back from getting his ass handed to him by Braun Breaker.
Right.
So I think if you take it from that tack, he might find a better foothold with the crowd, but that's for the powers that be to decide. But yeah, that's why he's my remedial student this week.
Fair enough, and hey, good choice on that. Understandable choice. I went with Keanu Carver for my remedial student this week.
Okay,
and I don't know if it was just it was the shortest match on the card, so maybe there wasn't a lot of time for him to really get rolling and show me much, but I didn't get a lot out of him here, and I walked away just feeling almost like he was a almost a generic creator wrestler in a way. You know, I like I said, I kind of picked on his gear a little bit, so I don't want to nitpick on that too much more. But I just didn't feel a lot from him personality-wise. Didn't really do anything in my eye that set him apart from too many other guys in the ring. Like I said, perfectly serviceable match. It was fine. Like nothing wrong with the match, but just didn't do anything for me personally. So I'd like to see if he can maybe step that up, find some more personality, do something to differentiate himself from the pool of talent at NXT. Because like I said, we saw him a while ago in the breakout tournament. Clearly, CJ didn't make a huge impact because he said you had a hard time remembering he was even in the tournament.
Well, to be fair, they didn't set up a lot of those guys for success.
They did.
The only reason I remember Trey Bearhill's name is because we laughed at him so much.
Because he got just like, mollywopped by Lexus King from behind, and that was how he was introduced. Was he got knocked out of the tournament without even having a match, which he was healthy to wrestle for by the time they actually had the scheduled match.
I honestly still can't believe that they had him wrestle while the tournament was going and still had the gall to be like, no, you can't wrestle in this tournament anymore.
And had him lose.
And then fired him.
It was not a good run for young Trey Bearhill. One Trey Bearhill. Oh, it was there the whole time. I should have called him One Trey Bearhill the entire time, like One Tree Hill. Little One Tree Hill Road. Somewhere my wife is laughing at that because she loves One Tree Hill. So
you're making that meme as soon as the stream's over.
I'm going to have to work on that one this evening for sure. Oh God, but the dude's not super memorable, and like you said, they didn't set up a lot of guys for success with that breakout tournament. It was kind of built around Obafemi. And it's kind of, when you've got the eclipsing power that Obafemi has, it's kind of hard to remember other folks that were in that tournament. Like I said, other than say Trey Bearhill because of the circumstance of him getting knocked out. Riley Osborne to an extent, but that's just kind of because they immediately, kind of sided
aligned him with Chase U.
Yeah, so those were kind of the only. I feel like that tournament really kind of set up Obafemi and Riley Osborne for the most part.
And I would say that they're doing well with guys like Luca Crucifino and Dion Lennox. So I was trying to remember. Okay, so who else was in that tournament? Obafemi, Trey Bearhill / Lexus King, Luca Crucifino, Dion Lennox, I guess Keanu Carver. Who are the other three?
No, the Reg wasn't involved with that. That was when he was coming in as a character.
The only person that I really knew going into the tournament was Lexus King. And that's only after he took Trey Bearhill out. That's why I thought he was going to be the winner, because that would have given him a great launching pad for, really anything.
Right. All right, I'm in the process here of pulling up. Let's see. So this would have been for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Riley Osborne and Keanu Carver. This is the first round. Lexus King, who replaced Trey Bearhill, took on Dion Lennox, Obafemi, and Miles Bourne.
Oh yeah, shit, he was in that too.
And Tavion Heights and Luca Crucifino. So both Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne were in. So actually, I take back what I said about the men's breakout tournament. That MFer set up a ton of talent to be on NXT television. So I take it back. Men's breakout tournament, wildly successful. Okay.
Okay, so is there anybody?
I just realized I've been drinking Diet Baja Blast. Spending some time.
They make Diet Baja Blast?
Oh yeah, I'm in the Baja now, friend. That is me doing Karrion Kross doing
Jesse Ventura. Oh god. So now there's going to be somebody working on an impression of you doing Karrion Kross doing Jesse Ventura. It's not me, because God forbid I could not do a Tyler impression for the life of me, other than something like, check out our friends at comicbookclick.com. Like that's, and that's not even like a Tyler voice. But so like, just while we're still talking about the breakout tournament, other than Trey Bearhill, was there anyone that this tournament didn't do anything for?
You could argue that it did nothing for Keanu Carver.
But also he was injured.
Right. Yeah,
I'd honestly argue it didn't do anything for Lexis King.
No, but has anything done anything for Lexis King?
No. And I hate that.
Like, it's such a great character, and he's so good at it. It's just like something has to click eventually.
And I don't know why it hasn't yet. Like, they could have done what they did with Ethan Page and just strapped a rocket to him, sent him to the fucking moon, and been fine. But I think because they decided to push Obafemi first, and that basically killed pushes for anybody that wasn't ready for the NXT Championship yet.
Right.
But even like side feuds not related to a title, I think the best one he's had so far was against Eddie Thorpe,
which they're running back this week.
Yeah. And like
and that'll be telling because he's already lost to Eddie Thorpe. So if Lexis King loses again this week to Eddie Thorpe, if I'm Lexis King, I'm real concerned about what my future is in this company. I'm real concerned.
Would it have to be a clean win?
No,
I would no.
Win.
Yeah,
he's a heel. It doesn't have to be clean at all. He's a heel. It doesn't have to be clean.
I'm just thinking, like, for the benefit of Eddie Thorpe, it would have to be a dirty finish.
Yeah. Because you don't want to hurt Thorpe, because just now coming back with this, kind of semi, changed Eddie Thorpe character. It's not. He's really wrestling the same way. His presentation is widely the same
in the ring. Yeah.
But like adding in a little more, personal character touches with the DJing and all of that. So I feel like he's still in that protective sphere right now. So he can't lose outright, but Lexis King cannot lose that match. I don't. No. He's cooked. If that's it. Like, I'm already starting to feel like he might be getting to the point where he's starting to be cooked. Which is a real shame. I know that he's definitely got his detractors out there, but I like Brian Pillman Jr. I think the Lexis King character is a good character fit for him. And I like him as a dude. Like, I met him a couple years ago. Like, he's a nice guy. Like, I don't know. And he's an Ohio boy. I live in the flat state of Ohio. And, so maybe that's part of it too. But I do. If he doesn't win that match, by hook or by crook, even, it's probably not a good sign for his future at NXT.
No, that's very fair.
And with him, we've talked about someone like, Brindley Reese. If you want to drop her off of television for a while, like a couple of months, and then rework her back in through Level Up with a different character and name, you can do that with her. You can't do that with him.
Oh, for sure.
The only change he has is to Brian Pillman Jr. And he's already tried Brian Pillman Jr., and I think Lexis King works better for him than Brian Pillman Jr.
So, but to say that it wouldn't work to be Brian Pillman Jr., like, NXT hasn't seen Brian Pillman Jr. yet. So does it feel like they could make that work?
If they want to give him a run at being a face, that's how you do it. That's the way you do that, because Lexis King as a character does not have a face quality to him. Nothing. There's not a redeemable face thing about Lexis King. Both, I think, as a character and as a name, honestly. That's a name that I don't think could even be face. Which is a weird thing to say, that I feel that there are names that are intrinsically face or heel. It's kind of like I used to joke when I was, in grade school, like, when his parents named him Victor Von Doom, they knew that he wasn't going to be a good guy, right? Like,
oh, exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of the same
it's
thing
like
here.
asshole McPiece of shit. Like, you just know that they're not going to grow up to be a philanthropist.
You name your kid Jeeves, he will be a butler or a search engine that no one remembers.
Hey, I remember Ask Jeeves. I was actually just making fun of it the other day.
Poor ass Jeeves! The man's in the grave! And we're mocking him. Oh, Jesus. But guys, moving on from Lexus King and Brian Pillman Jr., we should talk about our star pupil for the week here at Level Up. So we're going to transition now into this week's Level Up Star Pupil of the Week. And I'm going to say this every week that we continue to use this picture. Absolutely love Duke Hudson in the background of that shot. It's one of my favorite things.
Just the single best photobomb, I think, in the history of photobombs.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But CJ, my Canadian brother, who do you have as your star pupil this week for Level Up?
I went first for the remedial student, so I think you should take this one for star pupil.
Which the most magnanimous and Canadian thing to just see the person
just overly polite. No,
right?
You first. I insist.
All right. Even though she lost, I went with Lainey Reid this week. There's something there. Like I enjoy the character, and God, maybe it's just because I'm an Appalachian kid. Maybe there's something there where I feel like an automatic connection with that little bit of Southern drawl there. Like, it's homey. I just want to pour a glass of sweet tea and just talk about like NASCAR. That's a lie. I've never
sit out on the porch on a nice hot day with your straw hat and corncob pipe and.
Oh man, someone's gonna get mad now. That's not really how it is down in the South. No, it really is. It really is.
I'm Canadian. I don't fucking know.
Exactly. Hey, well, if you go far enough back, the Cajuns of Louisiana did start as the Arcadians up in Canada, made their way down. Cool. But I digress. But Lainey Reid, I thought her interview segment with Sarah Schreiber was very good, which I actually think last week when I chose Shiloh Hill, I think it was largely based on his interview that he did as well. But I thought the interview set up her character work very well. Other than a little bit of clunkiness in the ring at the beginning of that match, I thought she looked great in the ring. And maybe that's even part of why I'm choosing her as my star pupil. The match started a little clunky, but ended really good. And it was, to me, like you said, too, I think that was I thought the best match of the night overall. So I think, that speaks to her as a worker and as a growing talent when maybe she picked up on that. Maybe you see something's not working, you adjust in ring, you call it on the fly. That's a star in the making right there. And for, those reasons, Lainey Reid, name aside, is my star pupil. Let's get her a new name. But other than that.
So that'll be her first porn scene is being in the Chase U classroom.
Oh, God. Wrestling and porn jokes, I think, is why Sexy Rat has not been involved since that
The Performance Center just doubles as a studio for porn spaces.
Oh God!
So my star pupil. Oh God!
Shawn Michaels is too religious to ever let that happen. Shawn Michaels,
very true.
Like he wouldn't even do like sexually suggestive things during that last DX run.
That makes it sound, honestly, though, like a good 2006 DX skit where Triple H is trying to shoot porn in the Performance Center, so he keeps having to like move Shawn away from where they're filming.
Just never telling him what they're actually doing. Cover story after cover story.
Oh yeah, we're setting up the Chase U classroom. Don't worry about why that woman you've never seen before is in a Chase U shirt and no pants.
Why are there guys in hazmat suit coming in to clean the Performance Center? Don't worry.
Don't bring a black light in here.
Oh God, no. It's a wrestling show. There's going to be UV lighting one way or another.
Oh God, yeah. Especially in 2.0. Could you imagine?
Oh God, it was all bright colors. Jeez.
So my star pupil for this week, it was actually going to be Dante Chen. He had a solid match, and still proves to be the gatekeeper of Level Up. But then you talked about Reid, and I'm like, yeah, those are all really good points. Like, just being able to visibly show that you're learning in the moment is huge. So I don't think Reid will be spending as much time on Level Up. I think we're going to see her on Level Up proper on a regular basis before the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, all right. I agree with that. Like I said, I think she's got a lot of potential there. Like a lot.
Now, of course, that also depends on whether we see more NXT call-ups to the main roster before the end of the year, because you got to clear up some space before you can put people in there. So I think if they do call up some NXT proper talent to the main roster, that when we see NXT Level Up call-ups come to the NXT proper, that Lainey's going to be one of them.
No, I will say, and this is something that just hit my head just now, and when you said call-ups in the remainder of this year, I would wonder if we will see any major call-ups from NXT before January, in large part due to them moving to the CW, because they're putting a lot of advertising behind that already, and they're with the first teaser commercial that they put out there. They've got Roxanne Perez is on that commercial, Trick Williams is on that commercial, so I would assume that certain folks especially are going to be NXT bound for maybe a little bit longer than we thought, just because they're going to want to put a lot of momentum behind its debut on the CW.
For sure. But I mean, it's mid-October that it starts on the CW, right?
October 1st.
Oh, okay. So 3 full months of NXT on the CW. I think at the very least, they're going to load up October. And,
we know the first 2 episodes, especially, they're going to be arena shows. They're going to be in Chicago with CM Punk for the debut on the CW. And then the next week, Randy Orton's going to be there. And again, I believe, which I assume means they're in
probably
Minneapolis area, right?
Why can't I remember where Randy Orton's from?
Missouri. Is he from?
Yeah.
Good God. Kansas City? Is that right? Is it Kansas City?
No, it's St. Louis.
St. Louis. Somewhere there was someone from St. Louis that's very mad that I just said he was from Kansas City, I'm sure.
How dare you? It was the Canadian coming in with
Why was I thinking Minneapolis? Why in the world did I think he was?
I mean, you never know. He seems like a Minnesotan at heart. I don't know, man. I'm Canadian. I don't even know what a Minnesotan is.
It's fine. It's they're lake folk. They're up there right by the lake. I don't know. I live in America and I barely understand how this country's played out. It's ridiculous. Oh Jesus. But yes. So NXT Level Up in a nutshell. CJ, before we hop into our deep dive this week, is there anything else you want to touch on the Level Up portion of the show?
Good thing we didn't do it pre-recorded this week, because we definitely crossed over an hour. And a little inside baseball. It's a lot easier to upload anything under an hour to YouTube and socials as opposed to over an hour. So it's good that we're doing this week live.
Yeah, it is. That being said, we will hop into our deep dive discussion for NXT this week, which is beginning at just around the 1 hour mark. So thank you guys for sticking with this for you folks that are watching this live, and of course that watch us on the in-demand. But we will be dunking into our deep dive here. This week we wanted to talk about, due to the amount of crossover and continued crossover through that prohibited portal that we are seeing with TNA and NXT, we want to talk about the possibility, the inevitability. Should there be? Will we see an NXT TNA crossover pay-per-view, a Worlds Collide-esque type of show? DC versus Marvel, if you will, TNA versus NXT. CJ, opening thoughts. Is it something that you think we will see? Do we need to see it? Are the fans calling for it? Where are you at on this?
I feel like we have to see it at some point. Like, otherwise, what has this all been for if not, an event like this? Like, it feels like even if they don't have a planned end date for this NXT TNA partnership, I feel like this is something that shouldn't have an expiration date, if I'm being honest. Like, this should be the standard going forward for NXT, is just being able to collaborate, if not with TNA, then, groups like All Japan, GCW, anybody that's not tied to AEW, I think is probably, doors are wide open. So if they wanted to have a Worlds Collide event annually, and even just like switch it up depending on who's invited, I think an NXT TNA one would be inevitable. So yeah, let's book this thing.
All right. So obviously, there's some matches that they've touched on, and the easiest thing would just be like, well, let's just put all the champions against each other. That's boring. That's boring. Exactly. And it's lazy, quite frankly. And in some degree, we've already seen some of that. We've had a Roxanne Perez and Jordan Grace match. Roxanne Perez got the win there, and unless you were going to run it back and give Jordan her win back, there's not a lot of point in doing a match like that. And honestly, I'm not big on trading wins anymore. I feel like WWE's actually been moving away from the constant win trading, so we're not gonna see that. So that being said, let's just let's maybe start and talk about champions here. This is an NXT show, so maybe a lot of our folks watching this might not watch TNA as closely as you should be watching it, and especially you should be checking out the Dirt Sheet Radio TNA rewinds that happen every Thursday night after TNA Impact, our sibling show, guys. Okay, but so here we are. There's a lot of recently former WWE talent that is in TNA currently. We've seen some of that crossover happen. Ash by Elegance, formerly Dana Brooke, has been on NXT television as Ash by Elegance. But the current world champion is Nick Nemeth. So let's start there. CJ, do you have Nick Nemeth in a featured match? Because I got an idea of where I'd like to see Nick as a featured competitor. And you could make it for the world title. Maybe not, though, depending on how you would want to book the outcome to this. I'm going to start with Nick Nemeth. I would want to see on that card Nick Nemeth and Trick Williams in a one-on-one.
Ooh, that'd be a good match.
Yep. See, that's what I'm thinking. That's a work rate match, plain and simple. And I know that with Trick, we've maybe alluded to and discussed some of his shortcomings that we've seen lately in the ring, and that, he's not quite as developed as maybe we thought he was when he was working with Mello or working with Dragunov, and so putting them in there with Nick Nemeth would be a great ring general, a great leader for him to work with, and it would just be a spectacular match in terms of the physicality.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, Trick would learn so much from Nick Nemeth, and like he's just Dolph Ziggler is one of those guys that really should have gotten over. Like, he had the fan support, he just didn't have the support from the back. So I think if TNA really gives Nick Nemeth the chance to take the ball and run with it, Trick getting to work with him would be massive for him. So I think, I would love to see. I think for simplistic sake, should we just assume that the titles are going to be on the line for all of these?
It is a little bit extra.
Because I do think the fact that it's a title match versus non-title would play more into the results. So, like, because I think there is also an inevitability factor to seeing TNA people holding WWE championships or WWE people holding TNA championships. So if they did put the TNA title on the line, this is one that I think Nick would retain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I probably, just by virtue of him being, TNA's current world champion, would probably book him over Trick. There's a few reasons, actually. I'd probably book him to beat Trick. And that's one of them. Him being world champion, you got to keep your world champion strong. And that's also something that would have to be looked at here. The kind of political interplay between the companies. It is give and take. It's not going to be one brand or company, rather, having all of their talent go over. There is that interplay there. And while Trick is a developing big star for them, it would make the most sense from a logical standpoint and from just that relationship standpoint to have Nick Nemeth beat him. It would be a spectacular match, and I'm sure it would have probably half a dozen to a dozen very believable near falls. These are both guys that can just, sell like nobody's business, and everybody would look good coming out of that. Everybody would look good. And it'd be one of those things where, you even get that little show respect after.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know, like, they're both faces right now, so obviously it would be, a very respectful match unless we see a turn. But I don't see this as the kind of event where we would see like a heel turn based on, like, the Rascals. It makes sense because there's history, but I'd say that's probably the exception to the rule.
Yeah,
I'm still bummed about that, by the way. I wasn't able to talk about it on Tuesday, but oh man, I was devastated.
And talking about the inevitability of there being titles on NXT title on a contract wrestler from TNA, I thought that was going to happen. I thought that was a big shot that night, but unfortunately,
with Jordan Grace not beating Roxanne.
Oh, no. I mean, I meant with, I thought that Zachary Wentz was going to be one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions.
Oh, yeah, that's
cool. Week. I really thought that's where they were going with that. And which is, hey, good on them. They showed me. They really diverted my expectations on that. And gave me a heel turn that I was not expecting at all. And I'm now very excited to see what they do with going forward. But why, Wes? Why?
So that's the TNA championship booked. If we were to book the NXT championship, Ethan Page versus a TNA talent, I like the Canadian in me and the TNA fan in me. You already know exactly who I'm going to pick. I would kill to see Ethan Page defend the title against Josh Alexander. That would just, like, Josh Alexander as a singles competitor is just head and shoulders above so many people, I would say, in NXT and in TNA. So I think as far as most likely to get the NXT championship match, one, there's a story with Ethan Page and Josh Alexander being former TNA tag team champions together. They split when Ethan Page went to AEW, and then Josh Alexander went on an absolute fucking tear in TNA. I think he did break Bobby Roode's record for longest reign.
Oh wow! Okay.
So like he's been doing real well for himself, and I think the best chance to give him that the stage of NXT is put him against Ethan Page, put the title on the line. And I think this would actually be one of those instances where the TNA guy would win.
Wow. So So you would book Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, and you would put the NXT Championship on Josh Alexander.
And new.
Now, here's my little follow-up question on that. How long of a reign would that be? And would it go back to Ethan Page when it did? And would it go back to Ethan Page, or would it just be to a different NXT talent?
Well, I mean, there's definitely potential story-wise for them to book a long-term feud with Alexander and Page. So if they did decide to put the title on Josh Alexander, I think Page could very easily win it back down the road, especially if they end up doing a if Page loses the title at some point and then wins it back and then drops it to Josh Alexander, I think that might be depends on how long Ethan Page's championship reign is. Like, I don't foresee a NXT TNA Worlds Collide event happening before the end of the year.
Right.
Like, I would even hasten a guess to say it might be the pay-per-view for Royal Rumble weekend. Like, if they did an NXT event alongside a WWE PLE, I'd say Royal Rumble might be the best time, because then you have a lot of potential TNA surprises for the Royal Rumble, which that's always pretty cool to see.
Yeah. That'd be a great kind of time frame if they were wanting to do something like that, especially too because over the next few months, NXT does have a couple of proper PLEs that they're putting on. No Mercy in September and Halloween Havoc in October. So that would give them a couple months there, and I'm sure they'll work in some TV specials as they always do. I kind of do wish NXT would maybe focus a little more on their sparing PLEs as opposed to constantly seemingly doing very special episodes of NXT every 3 weeks or so. Give yourself a little more time to build to these bigger things, but that's another discussion for another time. But I do like that layout, because that January timeframe would be great. Just again to add to the speculation of who you might see from TNA popping into the Rumble as a surprise appearance. That'd be a great spacing for that. Again, if we were running things, folks, that would be the
of course.
The way
which, I mean, we can fantasy book as much as we want, and if WWE does it or if TNA does it, cool. If not, then we'll complain about how they didn't listen to us.
Right, exactly.
but would you have anyone aside from Josh Alexander that you'd want to see take Ethan Page on?
Not offhand. Partially, it's just because it makes the most sense story-wise. They've got that built-in history that they can, touch on. They can show some, promos and some vignettes, explaining, their history against one another. The temptation I know that they would feel to put Joe Hendry in that spot would be very great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean they're pushing him quite well in NXT and in TNA right now. So yeah, that would make a lot of sense, and I don't have a problem with that match either. But just for the story aspect,
right? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it just doesn't do as much for me.
Yeah. So no, I think that would be the most logical place, and I'd like to see that that match happen under that banner, and like I said, them fighting the temptation to put Joe Hendry in that spot and put the NXT title on him would be the only wrench I could see them potentially throwing in there. They would need to have the wherewithal to not pull that trigger quite yet. But no, that would make the most sense. But moving on to a non-title holder over on the TNA roster, former TNA World Champion Moose. I feel that Moose would have to have a place on this card, and I'm really fighting the urge to not just watch him slam up against
Obafemi. Yeah.
Like I really do want to see that, but I feel like maybe that's too similar of styles, you know. But sometimes I want to see the two big guys just crash into each other like that, and I don't want to shout
big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And I don't know. Like, I feel like Moose is so much further along in his career, obviously, than Obafemi. I feel like Oba could pick up some things from him. Moose is a good big man wrestler, and obviously, I'm not taking anything away from Obafemi. Obafemi has come tremendously far in a very short amount of time. But he can learn a lot from a big guy wrestler like Moose. And Moose has worked every angle as a wrestler. He's been, a tag wrestler. He's been a singles guy. He's been, a head of a stable of wrestlers. He's done everything, and he can learn from him.
Mm-hmm. And I think that would actually be my choice for a North American title match at this, if they did decide to go that way, purely because it would obviously be like the stereotypical big man versus big man, but you look through the rest of the TNA roster and it's like, who would give Obafemi a good enough run for his money that wouldn't just be a big man versus big man clash? And not many names coming to mind. Like, I think as far as, like, maybe even Bully Ray. Like, as far as... Well, I mean, like, specifically Bully Ray, though. Like, no bringing him back as Bubba Ray, as one half of the Dudley Boys. No, he's got to be Bully fucking Ray coming down to NXT. 5150 skull shirt and all. Like,
Right.
And I think that would be a really good test for Obafemi, especially if they decide to make it a no DQ match. I think that would open Obafemi up to a whole new even style of wrestling to build himself up as more than just an agile big man.
Yeah, and it would give him a kind of a new playing field to show aggression in. A different style of aggression, and it's an environment where it would put his title reign in danger. If you were about to tell me that like Bubba Ray Dudley is going to wrestle Obafemi one-on-one in a standard match, I'd be like, well, obviously Bubba's going to get run over. But if you're like, well, it's Bully Ray in a no disqualification falls count anywhere environment with Obafemi, I'd still think Obafemi's going to be booked to win that match. But to the more casual viewer, it'd be like, okay, I could believe that there might be something so just violent that Bully's capable of that he can maybe beat Obafemi for 3 seconds and then that's it. But no, that actually would be an interesting way to go about that. If Bully has one more match like that in him. I don't know if
is Bully even still in TNA anymore?
No, I don't think so. You know what? Here, I've got the roster page pulled up here. I don't think he is on the official roster page. No, he's not.
Oh, okay. Because I know he had done some work for them earlier this year.
I mean, maybe more of... Yeah, because I'm scrolling through here. He's not showing up. I mean, they even got the Hardys on here.
Well, yeah, but they're actually signed, so that makes sense.
Oh, are they signed? I didn't know that they were actually like signed at this point. I thought they were just kind of hanging out.
I thought I had seen somewhere saying that they did actually sign.
Okay.
If I can find it. But anyways, so that would be my choice for a match against Obafemi.
All right. Now, this is going to be a kind of a weird angle to run at, and this is one that's just kind of coming at me. We talked about what we've already done with Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez, and I get that Perez is obviously heel. Her heel run's going to continue running the way it is. This is going to sound wild. Give me a situation where you work into a, kind of a strange bedfellows thing where you're going to put into a tag team for just this one match, Jordynne Grace and Roxanne Perez teaming up against another team. I don't even know who that would be at this point, guys. We're booking on the fly here, guys. We're rewriting the show as it happens live. I'm Vince McMahon tearing up the script right now. I don't know who I'm putting them against, but I like that angle for both of them because I don't know what you do with either of them in a single scenario that's going to feel, big enough for this sort of event. So I'm saying you take both of your women's champions and put them in a tag team scenario where they're having to go in. And again, maybe it could be a mix. They're going against a mixed team of, a TNA and NXT wrestler just as they are. I don't know. You have to tell the story there. Yeah, there you go. Have them somehow work their way into a knockout tag team championship. There's not an NXT women's championship for them to be fighting over, so you couldn't even, book a champion scenario in that.
Unless you bring the women's tag champs down from the main roster.
Right. But if we're trying to keep this more purely TNA and NXT, you could have Jordynne Grace and Roxanne Perez go at was it Alicia Edwards and Slamovich?
Masha Slamovich, yeah.
Masha Slamovich, one of my favorite names, by the way. Slamovich. It's so 1980s.
It's very it's like appropriate for the wrestling, no matter what era you're in. Their tag team name is apparently the Militia.
Okay. I get it. Okay. All right. That's fine. It's the the Brangelina of professional wrestling, as it would be. But work a scenario and a story there, and that's a case where I would assume that you would have to have some sort of way for the Militia to retain those titles. I don't think you necessarily want to throw those straps onto your respective women's world champions, but I'd rather them go that route to get them on the card as to putting them in the singles scenarios.
Oh, for sure. Now, if they did decide to do singles matches against other people, I think if they had Roxanne Perez go, I gotta pull up I just had the champions pulled up, but I need the actual TNA roster because I have a person in mind. I just can't remember her name, and I don't want to get it wrong. Rosemary. That's a good pick. I'm gonna go with Rosemary. She has a very interesting character, and her work as a tag team champion was always good. So I would say Rosemary versus Roxanne Perez. And then if we were to find a challenger for Jordynne Grace from the NXT roster, I would put her up against Sol Ruca.
Okay.
I think that'd be a really interesting match. The clash of styles.
Yeah.
I think they'd be able to really do something with that.
Well, and that would be different enough from the styles difference between Roxy and Jordynne when they wrestled. That was a big angle they played there. Is how much smaller Roxy is, and obviously Jordynne and Sol are a lot closer in physical size, but Sol's much quicker and obviously more acrobatic. That would be a fun mix of styles for sure.
So as far as women's division singles matches, did you have any fantasy booking for those? Obviously not against each other, but
I guess for me, I view you getting Roxy and Jordynne in kind of the way I try to get stated getting them in there. I'm trying to think offhand. It's tempting too. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where it's I'm booking this just because the person needs to be on the card. Because my thought process was Kalani Jordan should probably be somewhere on here, but I can't think of a a clear path, or a logical path for there to be a match for her on that.
Even just by virtue of Women's North American Champion. If we said, they just decided that it was going to be Night of Champions at Worlds Collide, and it was just going to be all title matches, all champions. Except for the Digital Media Championship, because that's not even a thing. But that's nothing against PCO.
Yeah, I was gonna say PCO's gonna be real mad if he hears you say that.
Oh my god, I would love to book PCO on this show somehow, though. I think PCO, like, if we would have still had Joe Gacy in NXT, I think that would be a really interesting match.
Yeah,
especially like the unhinged Joe Gacy, like not the cult leader, but the one that we saw getting thrown off a roof into a dumpster.
Yeah. Or hell, even if Dijak was still done in NXT.
Oh god, I would love to see Dijak versus PCO.
Like,
I just love to see Dijak doing anything. He just won a championship in one of his indie return matches. I can't remember where or what it's called, but he's finding success, so good for him.
He's building it back up out there. There will always be a place for Dijak. But,
except in NXT, apparently.
Except in NXT or WWE right now. There's no place for him currently there. But, so I do have another match. Now, this is one that it will require some angling, and this is more story-driven than anything else. Okay.
Well, there's one other title match that I wanted to talk about on the TNA side before we move into some non-title matches, if that's okay.
This is still a title match.
Oh, okay. For NXT or TNA?
NXT. And it's tag.
Okay.
And my logic here is story-based.
All right, carry on then.
The Rascals get a shot against Axiom and Fraser.
So now, Trey Miguel and Wentz.
Zachary Wentz. Now, for this to happen, I need Wes Lee to be kept away. Like, I need them to be kept separate for this time frame, because this is more of a story angle match, because Wes Lee would be factored in to the finish of this and the outcome of it. But that being said, I'm not sure if I put the belts on the Rascals. I kind of want to, because I kind of want to, as much as I love Fraser and Axiom as a team, I kind of want to get to them wrestling each other, and that's just selfish of me. I'm being impatient about it, but I want to watch that match at half speed so I can actually pick up on everything that's happening. But I would like for the Rascals to get that shot. And again, it's story driven, because everything going on Wes Lee's turn. But like I said, for that to happen, though, I feel like you'd have to have not resolved the Wes Lee and Rascal / Zachary Wentz issue at all. Like, you're going to have to have kept them separate there. But yeah, that is one that I would like to put on that card, hypothetically.
No, that'd be a solid match for sure. I think as far as men's tag team division goes, this is going to be another one I have to kind of look at the roster page to get a sense of where I would go. I think I would go with for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Oh god, I'm just rambling while I'm trying to find a. You know what? I would want to see. I know they don't get along, but I would still just love to see Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian teaming together. It's solely because growing up watching OG TNA, and Kaz and EY were just such a huge part of that. So it would be purely bucket list, purely fantasy booking, full stop. And I'd just love to see it.
Right on. Yeah. It's hard to disagree with that. It would be fantastic to see, again, with that nostalgia factor in there as well. But
Very
that being
much
said, CJ, you said you did have some non-title stuff that you had in mind as well.
Some TNA title stuff, like the X Division champion Mike Bailey. You know much about Speedball?
Not a whole lot, to be completely honest. I was familiar with him, more as in the tag work he did with Speedball Mountain.
Yes. With Trent Seven. And yeah, still a very good wrestler. He's, I think, like a 4-time X Division champion now or something. Oh, only 2. Really? Okay. But anyways, he is incredibly talented. And I think an NXT title match versus Javon Evans would be huge. Like, Javon Evans would learn a lot. Mike Bailey would get introduced to TNA or to NXT in a great way. And I think they would just have an incredible match.
God, yeah. I just the juxtaposition of Javon Evans to, oh God, just the X Division as he is at such like that. Sorry, my brain just broke thinking about that, because now it's just I'm just intersplicing him into all of these X Division concepts now. Jeez, you know what? Let's just put him over at TNA for a while. Let's get Javon Evans some heavy reps in that, and let's get him some heavy reps in the X Division. Wow!
Oh my God!
You know what? I'm all for that. That'd be great.
Javon Evans in an Ultimate X match. Yeah. He would just wreck shop in that match.
They'd have to raise the structure. I'm pretty sure he can jump from a dead stop up to where it is.
Wow. Would not surprise me in the slightest.
Damn. I think that he's got a gymnast vertical leap. I joke, talking about, I think over they said this past week, with a running start, Simone Biles has she can leap as high as a Home Depot skeleton, which is 12 feet. I'm American, anything but the metric system, baby. So she can jump a Home Depot skeleton. Yeah, they'd have to raise the structure there for him. That would be fantastic. Yeah, I don't even know why I didn't think Javon Evans doing something X Division related immediately.
Just something to really showcase his high flying ability. Mm-hmm. Mike Bailey is an aerialist in his own right, so for him to step in the ring with another high flyer like Javon Evans is good. It would be massive.
Yeah. Well, and too, talking about the aerial abilities, those on their own, absolutely fantastic. But you got to learn how to use them in the proper way. It has to make sense. It has to have a psychology to it. And, that's something that he could probably, glean from someone with, the amount of experience someone like Speedball has. That's something that he can maybe pick up with him. And again, in these scenarios, I know these are one-off matches, but in my mind, there would have to be these conversations and understandings that these wrestlers would have to find. And, that's a big part of it too. It's learning, it's picking up new things here and there. It's about trying to make people into journeyman wrestlers as best you can too, without that journeyman environment existing really.
Well, exactly.
But yeah, that would be fantastic. Love to see that.
Oh yeah. And then the TNA Tag Team Champions. Currently ABC, mm-hmm. TNA's Bullet Club, Chris Bay and Ace Austin. The formidable, or at the very least, most noteworthy faction in pro wrestling at one time was Bullet Club. So mm-hmm. They should go up against the most formidable stable in NXT history, Chase U.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
I totally wanted to see your reaction.
I've been struggling to find a place for Chase U on this card. I really have. And part of it, and first at one point I thought when I was still maybe trying to find a more of a singles place, I'm like, oh, well, I'll throw Thea Hale at Jordan Grace. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that to Thea Hale. Thea's
that is a 45-second squash match at
and I just, if not for the image of like super amped up Thea Hale literally bouncing off of Jordan Grace, that would be hilarious. But like, I don't want to do that to my girl Thea Hale, so I wouldn't do that too. But this is a great way to get Chase U on the card. Absolutely love it. Now you keep ABC as the champions in this scenario, I would assume. But now, what iteration in ring for Chase U are you going here, though? Is it going to be Andre and Duke, or is it going to be Andre and Ridge, Duke and Ridge? What do you do?
I think I would go with the OG Chase U of Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. Like, nothing against Ridge or even Riley Osborne, but just like, I think, you know what, though? I think Riley Osborne would have a great mix of style to go into a match with ABC. And no, I think I'm still going to leave it with Chase and Hudson.
Well, especially after Andre Chase's performance at Heatwave in that match against Axiom and Fraser. Like, I was so unfamiliar with what he was capable of in that ring until that match. So that being said, too, like I was thinking that, I'm thinking like, I was thinking potentially him and Riley, but I feel like you do need that balance of that speed and strength, and that's one of the reasons why Andre Chase and Duke Hudson work well as a team. So yeah, I absolutely love that as a match on the card. Get me Chase U on that card, all about it.
Hell yeah.
We are pro Chase U here at DSR. Didn't start that way, guys. It didn't start that way, but we've become...
Well, not with all of us, anyways. Some holdouts were not getting on board. They weren't attending the pep rallies.
Oh, fantastic. But yeah, I love that. Love that as a match. I'm trying to think if there are any, if that's all of our champion representation at the very least now.
Who else would we book as far as just to have on the card?
On the card, yeah, because like obviously, if you're doing this, especially in the modern climate we're in, Joe Hendry is somewhere on this card.
Oh, has to be. But where do you put him?
Where and who? Because he's, we talk about like we've got people that are absolutely TNA people that have not appeared on NXT television. Obviously, people that are NXT people that have not appeared on TNA television. And there are folks that have appeared on both. Hendry's one of those guys where it's like, I don't even classify him as being on one roster over the other. I classify him in my mind, at least as being on both. And if I'm understanding how his contractual status is playing right now, he basically is on both rosters.
Well, and I think, like, as far as Joe Hendry, like, do we see him staying with TNA after this after his contract's up? No, and I hope that doesn't sour any of the relationship. But no, I don't think Joe Hendry stays with TNA as a full TNA talent after this contract is up. I think that is why Joe Hendry is not currently the TNA World Champion. A lot of folks were a little irritated. I mean, Nick Nemeth is a great brand ambassador. He's a fantastic wrestler, and it makes sense to have him do that. I think the big reason that Joe Hendry didn't win that title is because I think TNA knows he's not going to stay there forever. True. Like, he's just gotten so well with, like, he's gotten over so well in NXT that if they were going to do something with him to make TNA look good before he leaves, then maybe when if they are still doing a talent share, that maybe he could still go down to NXT as part of TNA. Mm-hmm. Or the other way around. Going to TNA as part of NXT.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Actually, I was just looking through the WWE roster or the NXT roster to see who a good matchup would be, and I almost said Joe Coffey, just by virtue of scrolling. But I, as much as I know, it would be a loss for Joe Hendry, I think I'd still want to see him against Charlie Dempsey.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a good match.
There's something there, and I don't know if they'd actually chalk up the win for Dempsey or not, but just something about Dempsey and Hendry in the ring together just it speaks to me.
I like that. And it's weird because if we plucked up Joe Hendry and dropped him 20 years in the past, I would love to have watched him work William Regal in his prime. And it's funny, and there's something about it, like I've said this, like Dempsey's Regalification it's hitting new levels now as he's leaning into a more less serious character, as it would be, and his facial expressions look like his dad's now. So it's like, Charlie Dempsey, I could, that works. There's something there. There's something that works there, and it gets me my no quarter catch crew on this card too, which I was trying to find a place there as well. Because, and again, and just like Charlie Dempsey is one of those guys that he's going everywhere right now. Like you said, everywhere. It's basically like you're affiliated with this group of companies or this group of companies. AEW's got their indies that they're working with closely. I mean, for God's sakes, they own Ring of Honor. And then WWE, NXT, they're working with who they're working with. And Charlie Dempsey is popping up all over the place. I like that. I like that a lot. And again, I'm a little biased in that I like the No Quarter Catch crew a ton and love what they're doing with them. I haven't disliked anything they've done with them. And that's wild, too, because it's like they've been doing very different things with them, as well as Dempsey's character, shifting from a very hardline, serious character to a more unhinged, losing your mind character to kind of a goofy kind of thing. But love it.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, that I was thinking about even during this episode. They seemed like they were leaning in towards that Heritage Cup affecting you after you lose it thing. Right. And I think they've kind of pulled back on that the last few weeks, too.
They have. His character's become much more balanced. They're not really playing that angle with anyone else either now.
No, they teased it with Nathan Fraser, but who knows? Maybe, and I think that is what kind of led into teasing a feud with Axiom and Nathan Fraser. But man, I wish they would go back to doing something with the Heritage Cup, like leaning into something a little bit mystical about it. I think that would work well for a little while at least.
Yeah, just a little something. I like the Heritage Cup.
Oh, fuck! We didn't book a Heritage Cup match.
Oh my God!
We have to book a Heritage Cup match.
Yeah, there has to be a Heritage Cup match on that.
Fuck.
Good grief.
Okay, so who would you say would be a good pick for a Heritage Cup match? Would that be Joe Hendry's match?
It's funny because my knee jerk, I was about Mustafa Ali is what I was going to say. Like, that was going to be my knee jerk. But I've been trying to actively avoid folks that have recently been in the company. And I think Plymouth, that was unavoidable as world champion. But like, I don't know. Like, my first thought was Mustafa Ali getting that shot. But
didn't he wrap up with TNA though?
Oh, is he? Oh.
Now I remember seeing he posted something that it sounded to me more like he was like referencing Joe Biden dropping out of the election, because it was very much typed out in a similar sort of format. But I think it was legit. I think he actually finished up with TNA.
Okay. So then he's out of the running then. Okay, so not my knee jerk is gone then. Okay, so we can't do that one.
Yeah, and they do have roster pages for Matt and Jeff. So even if they are free agents, they're still listed on the roster. So maybe that means we can do something with them too, or.
I mean, I feel like they'd be there. They'd be present. I'm actually a little shocked they haven't been, at least in some regard, involved, because I kind of figured they'll be back in WWE to end their actual in-ring careers and get that Hall of Fame bump and all that jazz. But
oh, of course,
yeah, man, I'm trying to, if I'm just mulling over, TNA roster, like.
I think if we did decide to book a Heritage Cup match that didn't involve Joe Hendry, I think another good candidate would be Steve Maclin.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he's been putting the work in the last couple of years, I was
trying to think of somebody that fits that style. And like that, the way that the match is segmented. But then again, like, finding a wrestler that just intrinsically fits that style of booking, I guess, isn't as important as I once thought it was. Because if you had told me a few months ago that Tony D'Angelo was going to be the Heritage Cup champion, I wouldn't have probably believed that. So I would have thought that he was a wrestler that fits that kind of mold. Because again, like, I view that obviously the Heritage Cup is a very European style match. It's the German round style of wrestling that they would do. But like, so I was trying to fit something. I like Steve Maclin in that. I could definitely see that as the match.
Yeah, the guy. I think it's more just like a, and I think it's probably just I like Steve Maclin, so yeah. I'm gonna put him in the match. But yeah, I think that actually would be like a good, solid match for sure.
Yeah, a solid match, and really, from like top to bottom on that'd be a pretty solid card, honestly.
Oh yeah, Sean, hit us up. Like we're available.
Yeah, we've got this for you. We can help you guys get this done and hammered out. Because like honestly, short of them doing some sort of battle royal sort of thing, which is a complete inevitability, they would absolutely do something like that, like an interpromotional battle royal. I don't really know what else I would want to put on that card without it getting dangerously long to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, like this, if they did decide to do like a 2-day event as opposed to just one, like still do it like a 2-night PLE instead of a 2-week special episode of NXT, but or which would be better? Would it be better served to do it on the CW or on pay-per-view?
Man.
And like we're also operating under the assumption that WWE would be producing this event and not TNA.
I would hope, just for sake of ease of production, that it would be kind of more helmed by WWE picking up that end of it. But that being said, then once you look into ad revenue, and obviously that is way backstage stuff that I don't even understand how they divvy that stuff up to begin with.
A lot of bureaucracy.
If you were going to do it as a 2-day thing, which I would rather be a single night PLE on Peacock. That would be my preferred method. But if you were going to do it as a multi-night thing, I would actually say split it up between the CW and Peacock.
Really? Why is that?
And obviously, I think hold off certain matches for the like more formal like PLE side of it. It's eyes. No disrespect to where TNA is at on the cable lineup dial, but like I have Access TV. Do you have Access TV, CJ?
No, I subscribe to TNA through their YouTube channel.
There you go. But the point stands though. Like Access TV is not in a lot of households. I've got it. That's how I watch TNA. But like if you're not subscribing.
No, I just meant more from like the aspect of why would you book it as part on TV and part on pay-per-view?
If I have to book it as 2 nights, I would do it that way. Just because, like, I don't want it all on regular TV. I feel like an event of this type, it screams to be a PLE PPV type thing, but I wouldn't want to also make it a standard pay-per-view because at this point I'm just spoiled and I don't want to pay $50 for something.
Fair enough. I think that's the same reason why I stopped buying AEW pay-per-views.
If they get moved over to Max, it's going to be a whole different world,
Well, I still don't get Max in Canada.
Oh shit. Okay.
The closest thing we have is Crave, which has an HBO channel, but it only has like some Max originals. Like I can watch Velma. I don't know why I'd want to, but I could.
But another kind of reason, if I was going to be forced to split this into a 2-night event, it would just be like NXT Tuesday night. Well, then you'd really have to include TNA though that week. Like it'd have to be almost like a 3, like NXT Tuesday, TNA Thursday, and then the PLE proper
on Saturday or Sunday.
Right, and then that's just adding too much at that point. So I would just keep it like, unless it was really had a gun to my head, forcing me to split this into more than one night. I'd keep it as just one night.
Oh, that's fair. And I think that probably would be the better way to go about it, even if it meant less matches or shorter matches. One day would be the better option for sure.
Do it.
But then that just makes it more like if this event, hypothetically, because still nothing has been announced. Like we're fantasy booking from the
100%.
jump. Like yeah, nothing has been even hinted at as far as a Worlds Collide event. Right. But if they did, I think that they would be better served having it a one-night thing.
Yeah, absolutely. For numerous reasons, but simplicity's sake being one of them. It's a lot easier to structure that kind of event, especially when you are dealing with multiple companies being involved in that. But man, CJ, that is our to date the deepest dive we have done on anything. Close it in here. Before we hop out here, man, was there anything else that you want to touch in on that, or do you think that this has been sufficiently deep dove in?
We have hit the bottom of as far as we can dive, so I think this is a good place to wrap it up.
All right, well, folks, as we kind of close up shop here today, I just want to let you all know that, one, we appreciate that you're here watching with us live and watching us in demand.
Absolutely.
So you're watching us as well. But I want to let you know that we here at Dirt Sheet Radio, this isn't all we do, obviously. We're not just here talking about Level Up. That'd be absurd if the entire page was based about just Level Up. But if you enjoyed what you saw here today, I've got wonderful news for you guys. It's not just Level Up. It is virtually every day of the week at this point. DSR is here on Monday nights, breaking down Raw for you live, watching the 3-hour show, so you don't necessarily have to. Sometimes it's a little rough, but we're doing it here for you. We're here for Tuesday nights, breaking down NXT. We are here every Wednesday doing Dynamite. That's what Wednesdays are built for, y'all. It's for Dynamite. Thursdays, our siblings show, the TNA Impact Rewind. Fridays for Friday Night SmackDown. And folks, if you're up super late on Wednesday going into Thursday, you can check out the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship. It goes live late Wednesdays, but it's posted Thursday morning. If you're not a night owl, like I am not any longer, check it out then. And then also on Sundays, just as we are here doing this, the 3NT going live every
finally set the graphic.
Yeah, we got the graphic now. And we are rolling. Everybody's got their graphics in. But yeah, and of course, CJ and I are here every Sunday. Usually not quite this long, but man, we this is what happens, CJ, when you're not on the NXT proper show with me and Malik. This is what happens. We got to catch up a lot more. Yeah. But speaking of NXT shows on Tuesday and such, CJ, tell the folks at home where they can find you and see you next.
Well, I'll be here hopefully tomorrow night recapping Raw, Tuesday night recapping SmackDown, looking to be on Friday night recapping SmackDown. I'm here for most WWE premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, NXT live events if they're on Saturdays, most likely not Sundays because that I have a job that I really enjoy going to as much as it takes me away from wrestling. I still love it. But otherwise, at CJ Carter 22 on Twitter, still not calling it X. And yeah, that's what I do. I love me some WWE.
Hell yeah.
And TNA, of course.
Yeah. It's our sister program over there now, But yeah, folks, I'm Tyler, the pro wrestling hipster, or I guess it depends on how pompous you want to be when you say it. I am at PW Hipster on the Instagram and the Twitters. I really don't do a lot on Twitter other than kind of farm pictures for updates and such. Instagram, I don't do a lot there either, guys. I'll be honest. It's more of my spooky stuff there. I do a lot of Halloween following over there. But if you do want to see what I'm doing, with Dirt Sheet Radio, outside of Dirt Sheet Radio, the Pro Wrestling Hipster over on Facebook. It's where most of my memes drop, and it might be where you're even watching us live right now. And then obviously I'm here Monday nights doing Raw, Tuesday nights for NXT, PLEs for WWE here for those when I can. I miss them every once in a while depending on when they throw those out. Sometimes those afternoon shows are a little harder to hit for some reason. And of course, every Sunday for NXT Level Up Adventure with CJ here. Love the show. It's not to take away from anything else that I get to do with Dirt Sheet Radio, but this is my favorite show that we get to do every week. It's a lot of fun, guys. It's a lot of fun.
It is. And I know you say that at the end of every show, except for Raw, because it's 3 hours of slog. But
I say that NXT proper is my favorite 2 hours of weekly wrestling television. This is my favorite show. Yeah, no.
Okay, Michael Cole.
You beat me to it. I was going to say, I feel like Michael Cole throwing all these qualifiers on. But folks, we appreciate it that you guys watch us live, and we appreciate that you tune in after. But you know what? We'll be back live soon. But CJ and I will be back for this next week, and we'll be live every single night this week. Somebody will be here for Dirt Sheet Radio to talk to you directly about professional wrestling. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in live. We will see you again soon and next week, guys. Have a wonderful week.
Hell yeah.